There is a truth often obscured by the rushing night and the noise of the world that your life does not change on some glorious day far off in the future. No, your life changes daily. In every choice you make and every brick you lay, you are the project of a lifetime. There is no greater investment than the one you make in yourself. You are not just a human being, you are a living, breathing construction site. Every morning you wake up with bricks in your hands, bricks of time, energy, potential. The question is, what are you building? Most people are busy building walls of excuses and justification, but there is a greater call. A call to build a legacy, a life of meaning, not just existence, but radiance. Scripture in Proverbs 4:7 says, "Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom." If your mind is your master tool, why would you leave it dull? It needs to be sharpened. Daily. Not occasionally, not when you feel like the right moment. It needs to be learned, to be read, to be challenged. Because success doesn't ask, "What did you do?" once. It asks, "What do you always do?" The discipline to show up for yourself every single day. That is the invisible yet strong line separating the ordinary from the exceptional. Picture a sculptor. The masterpiece doesn't appear in one swing. It appears through each cut, each deliberate strike. Persistent. Work on yourself like that. Discipline is the bridge to the future. Dreams don't become reality through desire alone. They cross the bridge of discipline. And that bridge, it's not paved with gold or sudden motivation. It is paved with stark decisions, with quiet sweat, with days you don't feel like doing anything at all. But you get up and act anyway. Many people wait for a signal, a green light, a perfect moment to start their new life. But the truth is simple. There is no perfect time. There is only now. The longer you wait, the further the dream drifts, because dreams don't move toward you. You must move toward them. And discipline is that movement, that step. Hebrews 12:11 declares something profound. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness for those who have been trained by it. This scripture doesn't just speak of faith. It speaks of every goal worth pursuing in life. It tells you today's pain is tomorrow's peace. Today's sacrifice becomes tomorrow's strength. Today's discomfort is planting the seeds of tomorrow's reward. Think of your future self like a kingdom, a city not yet built, but fully possible. Every time you choose discipline, you lay a brick, a habit kept, a distraction resisted, a promise honored to yourself. These are the stones of greatness. Over time, they will become a formidable castle. They will become your legacy. They will become you. But here's the hard question. That future version of you, will they thank you, or will they resent you for not having given them a better foundation? Will they look back at the path you walked and say, "You made this life possible"? Or will they whisper, "You could have given me more"? One brick each day. That's it. Not a miraculous leap. Just one honest effort stacked upon the last. Walk a mile a day, and in a year you've traveled 365 miles. Stay consistent, and you'll arrive somewhere others only dream of. But stop, and you stay in place. You decay, you shrink. So the question isn't, can you do it? The real question is, will you do it? Today. Will you take that first step, or will you keep rehearsing the reasons not to? Every moment you hesitate, someone else out there is building their life. Every time you delay, your dream delays too. But every time you step forward in faith, you meet the future halfway. Discipline is the only bridge that can carry your dreams from the land of wishful thinking to the world of reality. Cross that bridge, self-belief. It is the oxygen of progress. You cannot run a marathon without air to breathe, and you cannot chase your dreams without belief to fuel them. Your intentions matter, but your environment around you, it amplifies or it erases those intentions. You may have the strongest desire in the world, but place that desire in a toxic atmosphere, and it will wither. The people, the spaces, and the energies around you are not passive factors. They are either builders or breakers. 1 Corinthians 15:33 gives a clear warning. Bad company corrupts good character. It doesn't say might corrupt, it says corrupts. That means even the best version of you is vulnerable if surrounded by the wrong influence. Goals are not just fleeting ideas. They are sacred blueprints, fragile in the early stages, and like treasure, they must be guarded. If the people around you don't inspire you, don't support you, or don't challenge you to grow, they are likely holding you back, even if they do it with a smile. You don't need to hate them, but you do need to be wise, for just like smoke suffocates a flame, the wrong company can smother your inner fire. Imagine you are a seed. That seed contains a perfect blueprint. All the potential is already there, but what happens if you plant that seed in concrete? Nothing, it dies. Not because it lacked potential, but because it lacked the right conditions, the right soil. Now place that same seed in rich soil. Give it light, give it space. It grows, it flourishes. Not because it became something new, but because its environment allowed it to become what it already was. Your environment is that soil. Change it, upgrade it, and you will unlock growth you didn't even know was possible. Surround yourself with positivity, with excellence, with people who speak life, not fear, with individuals who hold you to your highest standard, not your lowest comfort zone. One conversation can change your life. One sentence can rewire your beliefs. But equally, one subtle voice can plant a seed of doubt. One careless joke can derail your drive. That's why you must be vigilant. Who's in your ear? Who do you allow to influence your thoughts, your energy, your decisions? Walt Disney had a vision most couldn't see, but he didn't try to build it alone. He surrounded himself with artists who could draw what he imagined, engineers who could build what he dreamed, believers who could carry the weight of the vision. Before Disneyland ever broke ground, he had built a circle, an atmosphere of creation. And today, millions walk through a dream that started in a room full of the right people. So take inventory. Who surrounds you? Who challenges you to rise? Who reminds you of your potential when you forget it yourself? And just as important, who pulls you back? Who minimizes your ideas? Who jokes when you speak seriously about your future? Atmosphere or environment is everything. It determines whether your goals remain as dreams or become destiny. Don't just hope for growth. Plant yourself where growth is inevitable, where excellence is the standard, where your inner fire is not only protected but fed. Your future depends on this. The mind replays what the heart believes. Your thoughts are not random. They are recordings of what you've accepted as truth. Every action you take begins with a thought. But where did that thought come from? Most people never ask. They move through life obeying internal voices without ever questioning who gave those voices authority. If you've told yourself, "I'm not good enough," long enough, then your actions will confirm it. Not because it's true, but because belief is a script and your life is performing it. Romans 12:2 offers the answer. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Notice what it says. Be transformed. Not by changing your outer circumstances, not by waiting for luck, but by renewing your mind. Real change begins in the invisible. Transformation doesn't start in your hands. It starts in your head. You cannot build a palace with broken blueprints. If the design is flawed, the structure will collapse, no matter how hard you work. Your thoughts are your blueprints, and if you don't intentionally feed them truth, the weeds of fear, doubt, and limitation will overrun your mental garden. Imagine your mind is a garden. You don't just pull weeds once and expect roses forever. It takes consistency daily, watering, daily sunlight, daily protection. You must prune what no longer serves you, remove the lies, plant the truth, and do it again and again tomorrow. That's your job. That's the work required. Transformation is not a single event. It is a daily discipline. You must wake up and speak to yourself with authority. I am capable. I am called. I am chosen. These are not just feel-good affirmations. These are spiritual strategies, because the mind will believe whatever it hears repeatedly, and you get to choose what it hears. Look at Helen Keller, blind and deaf before she turned 2. The world labeled her impossible. A life without language, without vision. But someone believed for her until she could believe for herself. And once belief entered her mind, the impossible became her platform. She wrote books, delivered speeches, inspired movements. She couldn't see the world, but she changed it. How? Because she reprogrammed the narrative. What story are you replaying in your mind? Your mind is not a cage. It's a canvas. Every thought paints a stroke, and with enough strokes, a masterpiece or a mess emerges. You cannot control every thought that comes to you initially, but you can control which ones take residence, which ones get fed, which ones get repeated. Feed your mind truth. Feed it discipline. Feed it vision. Turn down the volume on the voice of fear. Turn up the voice of faith. Because the loudest voice wins, and that voice must be yours. This is not just about mindset. It is warfare, and the battlefield is between your ears. The victories you want in your life will be won first in your thoughts. So renew your mind not once, not when convenient, but every day. Speak truth until it drowns out the lies. Believe in possibility until it feels like reality. Because it's not enough to dream. You must first think like someone who deserves it. Renew your mind and the rest will follow. Pain. It is the currency of growth. Everyone wants to grow, but no one wants to hurt. Yet the truth remains unshaken. Growth requires discomfort. You cannot rise without resistance. You cannot strengthen what has never been tested. And you cannot transform without a little breaking. James 1:2-4 speaks directly to this. Count it all joy when you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. This isn't just encouragement. This is instruction. It says, welcome the pain. Not because pain feels good, but because pain does good. Pain, it stretches you, it strengthens you, it sanctifies you. Most people pray for a breakthrough but resist the breaking that comes before it. But look deeper. Every great tree once began as a seed. That seed, before it ever touches sunlight, must break open in the dark. It must surrender its original shape to embrace its unseen potential. That's not destruction. That's transformation. That's how growth works. It doesn't come without pressure. It doesn't come without pain. You must learn to stop fearing the pain and start forming yourself from it. Don't just endure your struggles, extract from them. Don't just suffer through it. Shape through it. Every tear, every trial, every hard moment is life's tuition fee, and greatness, that's the degree you earn. Your pain is not punishment. It is preparation. Jackie Robinson was not just the first black man in Major League Baseball. He was a pioneer under extreme pressure. Every time he stepped onto the field, he carried insults heavier than any bat. He was spit at, mocked, hated, but he never folded. His pain could have silenced him. Instead, he turned it into power. Every game he played was a statement. Every swing a stance. He wasn't just playing to win, he was playing to change. You may not be in a stadium, but you are in a story of your own. And just like Jackie, your pain can either shrink you or shape you into something mightier. So ask yourself, will I run from this? Will I numb it, deny it, blame others for it? Or will I rise through it? Will I let it teach me, make me stronger, forge something greater in me? Pain is not weakness. Pain is the alarm clock of your next level. It's the seed cracking. The muscles tearing to rebuild stronger. The fire refining gold. You are not broken because you're in pain. You are becoming. Your character is being carved. Your capacity is being increased. Your destiny is being defined. Don't despise the discomfort. Lean into it. Let it stretch your patience. Let it deepen your faith. Let it pull new strength from within you. Because the comfort zone, it will never produce the version of you that the world is waiting to meet. Everyone wants the mountain view, but no one wants the uphill climb. Yet only the ones who climb see, only the ones who stretch grow, only the ones who press through the pain rise. So rise, not around the pain, not avoiding the pain, but through it. Because pain is not your prison, it's your passage. Consistency, that is the superpower you are ignoring. It's not what you do occasionally that defines you. It's what you do consistently. The most powerful force in your life is not the surge of excitement, but the steady rhythm of discipline. One step doesn't build a journey. One single act doesn't form a legacy. It is the repetition, the daily ritual, the returning again and again, that carves greatness into the bedrock of your life. You may feel overlooked, unseen, like your efforts are just echoes in a void. But what if those echoes are shaping the very walls of your future? Psalm 1:3 describes the righteous as a tree planted by streams of water which yields its fruit in season. That means there are days of no fruit, only quiet faith, no applause, only silent perseverance, no spotlight, only the steady watering of the roots. The tree doesn't grow because it tries harder. It grows because it remains planted, rooted, fed by consistency every single day. That is you. You don't need a dramatic moment. You need daily devotion. The seeds you plant in silence will one day bloom in public. Growth comes from the unseen, from choosing to rise again, to repeat what works, to water your goals even when you don't yet see the harvest. Picture a blacksmith hammering a piece of steel. The first strike doesn't change it. Neither does the fifth. But strike after strike after strike in the same place builds heat, builds force, until the steel yields and takes shape. So does life. But will you keep hammering when it still looks exactly the same? Success does not respond to passion alone. It responds to perseverance, and consistency is perseverance in motion. It is faith with a schedule, hope with a habit. Make your work ethic louder than your excuses. Decide once, then repeat daily. Even when it's boring, even when it's hard, because the world doesn't give you what you occasionally wish for. It gives you what you consistently work for. Booker T. Washington was not born into ease. He was born into slavery. His beginnings were marked by silence, scarcity, and struggle. But he kept showing up. He taught himself to read by candlelight. He walked for miles to attend school. He labored, not for applause, but for change. Over time, his consistent efforts built the Tuskegee Institute. His voice reached presidents. His legacy reshaped education, and none of it came overnight. It came from hammering the steel again and again and again. So ask yourself, what have you committed to so deeply, so persistently, that it has become part of your very identity? Don't chase greatness in sprints. Build it in steady strides. Don't wait for motivation to arrive. Be moved by discipline. Be like the tree planted, watered, rooted deeply. Trust that the fruit will come in season. Because your future is not built in sudden flashes, it is built in consistent footsteps. Make yours consistent and watch the world bend in your favor. Speak life into your vision. Words are not just sounds passing through the air. They are seeds. Every sentence you speak carries power, whether you acknowledge it or not. They build or they break, bless or burden, shape or shatter. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Life and death are in the power of the tongue." That's not just poetry, it's law. You are creating with every word. And the question is, what are you creating? What are you speaking over your dreams? Do your words lift you up or limit you? Do they ignite your vision or extinguish it? Every time you say, "I can't," you are pouring poison into your potential. But when you declare, "I will," something deep within you responds. It's as if your soul recognizes the truth and begins to rise. You give the divine realm something to bless, something to work with. You awaken unseen possibilities and align yourself with promise. Words are your daily declarations of direction. Speak life boldly. Not based on wishful thinking or fleeting emotion, but because your future is listening. Like a captain steering a ship, the rudder determines the direction, not the storm. The rudder is small, but it turns the entire vessel. Your words are your rudder. Speak like someone going somewhere significant. Speak like your future depends on it, because it absolutely does. Every time you open your mouth, you are writing a headline for your life. George Washington, carver born into slavery. He had every reason to echo despair and limitation. But he didn't. He believed in a creator who encoded purpose into nature. He spoke to peanuts. Yes, he literally talked to a crop. He asked questions of the humble seed. He listened for divine answers within the natural world. And from that one humble seed, over 300 products were born. Why? Because he believed. Because he spoke life and possibility. His words were not just noise, they were keys. Keys that unlocked hidden doors of potential. So must you! Don't just describe your life based on current reality. Declare what it will be. Don't just narrate your limits. Name your destiny. Speak what you seek until you see what you've said into existence. Words are not empty echoes. They are architects. They design the rooms you will one day walk through. You are not powerless. You are prophetic in your speaking. You don't need to predict the future based on trends or circumstances. You need to pronounce it with faith. Wake up and bless your day. Speak life over your work, over your mind, over your family. Refuse to curse your own calling with careless negative chatter. Speak like your words matter, because they profoundly do. Every moment is an opportunity to sow new seeds with your words, and every seed spoken in faith is one step closer to harvest. Speak what you want to build. Speak what you want to become. Speak like someone whose destiny is listening, because it is. You were not made to blend in. You are not here to fit into existing patterns. You are here to stand out in your unique brilliance. There is nothing accidental about your existence. You were created with purpose, with precision, and a presence meant to shift the atmosphere in rooms, not disappear in them. Romans 12:2 gives a command, not merely a suggestion. Do not conform to the pattern of this world. That means you are not meant to mimic. You are meant to move differently, speak differently, live boldly according to a higher pattern. Every time you shrink yourself just to be accepted, you are betraying your divine assignment. The world doesn't need more conformity. It needs more courage. The courage to be authentically oneself. When you bury your brilliance just to blend in, you are robbing the world of the very light it has been waiting for. You weren't made to reflect your environment. You were made to elevate it, to bring light into it. Why dim your light just because others haven't found theirs yet? Insecure people often feel threatened by authenticity and confidence, but that's not your problem to fix or minimize yourself for. That's their fear to face and overcome. Your job is not to lower your standard to soothe their discomfort. Your job is to live your truth so fully that it awakens others to theirs. Think of a lighthouse. It doesn't chase ships lost at sea. It doesn't blink with doubt or question its own existence. It simply stands there. Bright, unwavering. Constant ships are saved because the lighthouse refuses to move or dim. That is your role. Be the light that holds firm even when the storm rages all around you, even when you feel completely alone in your stand. Because someone somewhere is navigating their own chaos and needs the clarity your light provides. You don't serve the world by hiding who you truly are. You serve it by standing confidently in your unique light. Louis Armstrong knew this. Deep down. Born into poverty, raised in hardship. He was told in 100 ways that he didn't belong, that his voice was too different, his background too rough. But he didn't conform to those limitations. He created something entirely new. With a trumpet in his hands and joy in his soul, he redefined what music could sound like, could feel like. He didn't wait for permission to shine. He simply lit the stage with his authenticity and talent, and the world followed. You must do the same. The world doesn't need another echo of what already exists. It needs your voice, your truth, your light. You were not called to blend into the noise. You were designed to be a note that changes the entire song. Don't be afraid to be the first, the only, the different, the bold. Your uniqueness is not a flaw to hide. It is your fingerprint on history, your signature on your life's work. Stand tall, stand true. Stand unapologetically for who you are called to be, because when you stand in your light, you give others permission to find and stand in theirs. And in a world full of shadows, one light standing firm can start a revolution. Your thoughts build your future before your hands do anything tangible. Before you ever take action, you think. And what you think, especially what you think repeatedly, becomes what you believe deeply. Over time, that belief begins to govern the entirety of your life. It becomes the invisible script you follow, the lens through which you see every opportunity, every obstacle, every decision before you. Proverbs 23:7 states it plainly. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Your life is not shaped primarily by your circumstances. It is shaped by your core assumptions about yourself and the world. Not by what happens to you, but by what you believe about what happens to you. You're not stuck primarily because of your past actions. You're stuck because of your underlying assumptions. Assumptions about your inherent worth, your innate talent, your potential future. And those assumptions form an invisible ceiling over your life. A ceiling you can only break through when you fundamentally change what is going on beneath it. Your thinking. This is not abstract theory. It is a fundamental spiritual law woven into existence. Your thoughts are not harmless, casual visitors. They are powerful seeds, and every day you are planting with them. The crucial question is, are you planting weeds or planting wheat in your mental garden? What you consistently feed your mind becomes your foundational mindset, and your mindset becomes the undeniable map that dictates the direction and limits of your life journey. Change your thoughts, and you will change your tomorrow. Begin every single day with intentional vision. Declare who you are and who you are becoming before the world attempts to define or limit it for you. Guard your mind diligently like a precious treasure. You wouldn't knowingly let thieves enter your home. Do not let limiting lies and doubts enter your sacred space of thought. Filter rigorously what you allow in, what information and influences occupy your mental space. Monitor your inner dialogue consciously, because that voice, that internal conversation, is either actively coaching you to rise higher or silently condemning you to stay trapped. Take that internal voice off its autopilot setting. Teach it how to speak life, speak truth, speak possibility. Replace every passive "I can't" with an active "I am learning how." Replace every harsh "I failed" with a reflective "I have grown." Speak not simply what you feel in the moment, but what you choose to believe, regardless of transient emotion. That is the continuous process of renewing your mind. That is how you intentionally shift your present and future reality. Andrew Carnegie understood this profoundly. Before he built massive steel empires, founded libraries that stand today, and forged a lasting legacy. He first built an unshakable belief within himself. He did not come from inherited wealth or privilege. He came from struggle, from stark poverty. But his mind was never poor. His internal landscape was rich with conviction. He believed fiercely in transformative ideas, in the potential of ordinary people, and above all in himself and his capacity to build. He carried a vision within him so strong and clear that eventually the external world seemed to align and bow to it. While others around him complained about their limitations, he actively created possibilities. While others doubted and hesitated, he decided and moved forward. He did not passively wait for confidence to appear. He cultivated it daily through conscious thought and action. Every single day he deliberately chose and thought better, empowering thoughts. And those thoughts, consistently held inevitably, became the blueprint for a demonstrably better life. You want more out of life? Think better. Don't let your precious life be dictated by a broken loop of recurring fear and past failure narratives. Choose your thoughts with the same conscious care and intent with which you choose your important words. Choose them on purpose, with inherent power, with active faith. Because what you allow yourself to think today unquestionably becomes who you are actively becoming tomorrow. You are not rigidly defined by your past limitations or mistakes. You are brimming with expansive potential, but only if you genuinely believe it deep within. So start every morning intentionally, not with crippling anxiety and default negative thoughts, but with decisive alignment to your highest purpose, not with paralyzing doubt, but with empowering declaration of truth and potential, not with yielding to fear, but with embracing bold faith. Because the mind is your greatest, most crucial battleground in life. Win the war there within your thoughts, and you gain the power to win everywhere else. Vision without corresponding action. It is merely a harmless, unfulfilled fantasy. You can hold the most inspiring dream in your heart all day long. But dreams on their own do not move you forward physically until you choose to actively move. No amount of incredible vision or meticulous planning will carry you 1 inch closer if your actions remain standing still. You can write glorious goals in elegant notebooks, speak empowering affirmations into mirrors until your voice is hoarse, and plan out every intricate detail of your desired future inside your head. But without the crucial element of concrete action, all of it tragically dies there, residing solely in the realm of untested theory. James 2:17 states this principle plainly and undeniably. Faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. This means genuine living faith is far more than just a passive internal belief. It is vibrant motion. It is decisive movement. It is the profound courage to take a deliberate step forward, even when the ultimate outcome of that step feels uncertain or completely unknown. You do not need to clearly see the entirety of the grand staircase stretching ahead of you. You just need to focus with intention on taking the very next visible step. That, my friend, is precisely how true sustainable progress consistently happens in life. Not through miraculous leaps taken with perfect absolute certainty, but through small, steady steps, taken with simple obedience to the call to move. Many people often wait indefinitely for absolute clarity on the entire path before they are willing to act decisively. But the truth is, clarity is not a required prerequisite for action. It is a beautiful, illuminating byproduct of action. It doesn't mysteriously arrive before you embark on the journey. It reliably emerges and reveals itself through the ongoing process of the journey itself. When you choose to move forward, you inevitably learn. When you choose to act, you are able to adjust and refine. And when you simply begin walking even tentatively, you miraculously begin to see the path clearly. A path that hesitation, waiting, and indecision had previously kept completely hidden from your view. Therefore, begin before you feel entirely ready. Act while you are still wrestling with uncertainty and fear. Trust deeply that forward momentum itself inherently creates invaluable direction. Trust that when you take the bold step to move, powerful unseen forces and circumstances will often move with you, aligning to support your courageous action. Motion actively stirs up miracles. Breakthroughs and transformations don't passively show up in stillness and inaction. They consistently manifest in the determined pursuit of what you seek. So stop waiting for conditions to be perfect, for clarity to be absolute. Stop waiting until you feel you have every possible answer mapped out. Stop waiting indefinitely for the persistent fear to miraculously disappear entirely. Instead, execute your plan courageously with what resources and knowledge you currently have. Exactly where you currently are in life. Thomas Edison, the legendary inventor, failed thousands of times in his persistent attempts to invent the first commercially viable light bulb. If he had chosen to wait only for perfect conditions or guaranteed outcomes, the world might very well still be primarily in darkness today. But he chose to act relentlessly. He did not passively sit still, theorizing. He did not wait for the intricate idea to be perfectly flawless on paper. He moved, experimenting tirelessly. And precisely because he moved with relentless action, physical light for the masses was eventually born from his persistent effort. His true brilliance wasn't defined by avoiding failure at all costs. It was powerfully demonstrated by his unyielding refusal to allow temporary failure to be the final definitive word. So what about you? What inspiring ideas, visions, or goals are you currently passively sitting upon, undeveloped? What potential breakthrough or positive transformation are you potentially delaying in your life, simply because you are still meticulously planning it to death instead of beginning? What single crucial step, even a small and uncertain one, could you potentially take today that might hold the hidden potential to fundamentally change everything for the better tomorrow? Faith is active, faith walks, faith builds, faith initiates movement. You don't need to feel completely fearless and certain to begin. You just need to be willing. Willing to take the first step. Willing to try. Diligently. Willing to do that small, uncertain thing today that just might blossom into a big, undeniable miracle tomorrow. Stop waiting passively for permission or perfect timing. Start building, creating and moving forward intentionally now, because your next desired breakthrough is not passively waiting in the abstract planning. It is actively generated in the doing. One step, that is truly all it takes to actively change the direction of your personal story. And that transformative step, it must actively start now in this present moment. You are ultimately responsible for your results in life, not your external circumstances or the actions of others. Blame. It is often the easiest road to emotionally travel down, and without question, it is typically the most crowded and heavily trafficked road in life. It feels powerfully tempting in moments of hardship or perceived injustice to automatically point your finger outwards when life doesn't unfold precisely according to your desired plans or expectations. Your challenging upbringing, the prevailing economic climate, the negative or unsupportive people around you, the difficult circumstances you never explicitly asked for or wanted. It might even feel good, albeit momentarily and superficially, to intellectually say, "This is clearly not my fault at all." But the fundamental problem with consistently choosing blame is that it severely delays the only single thing that can actually create meaningful change and transformation in your life. Embracing full responsibility. Because until you deliberately choose to take complete, unequivocal ownership of your circumstances and your reactions, you simply possess no genuine power or control over your direction. And without inherent power or control, absolutely no lasting positive change can truly happen. If you are passively waiting for anyone else to magically fix or resolve what happened to you in the past, you are essentially gifting them significant power over your potential future. And tragically, that is the most certain and quickest possible path to remain indefinitely stuck where you are. True responsibility is not a form of punishment or burden. It is the ultimate empowering source of your personal power and agency. The world or life circumstances may have undoubtedly wronged you or dealt you an unfairly heavy hand of cards in the past. But here is the undeniable truth of the present moment. Consistently blaming those external factors, however justified you feel, simply will not lighten the emotional or practical load you carry one single bit. Galatians 6:5 powerfully declares each one should carry their own load. That profound statement is far more than just a simple practical instruction for life. It is a glorious liberation from external dependency. It intrinsically means that the fundamental path towards positive change and empowered movement forward is already firmly held within your own two hands. Accessible now. You do not ultimately require permission from anyone else to start. You do not ultimately require a dramatic rescue by an outside force. What you need most, fundamentally, is the conscious courage to look honestly into your own reflection in the mirror and assert clearly and decisively, "This load, this life is fully mine to carry with all its weight, and consequently, it is also fully mine to strategically change and improve." When you choose deliberately to take profound responsibility for your life and your journey, you consciously stop passively waiting for the external weather and conditions to miraculously shift in your favor. Instead, you actively choose to adjust your own internal sails. And suddenly, remarkably, no matter how turbulent the storm of external circumstances becomes, you gain the internal capacity and power to consciously choose your direction and move forward decisively. You begin this powerful shift by fundamentally changing your internal and external language. Actively remove the limiting words and phrases like, "I can't achieve this because," or "It's impossible for me due to," and boldly replace them instead with empowering questions and declarations like, "What can I creatively do right now with precisely what I currently have available to me?" Ownership of your life starts not with monumental actions, but with small, consistent, deliberate acts taken daily. When you consciously stop waiting passively for perfect conditions or ideal circumstances, you instantly begin actively making meaningful, albeit small, progress. Take just one small, intentional step toward the life you genuinely want right now. Perhaps that means making the simple but significant choice to wake up intentionally 5 minutes earlier tomorrow, or committing yourself to the conscious discipline of simply stopping your habit of complaining today. Perhaps it is deliberately choosing to practice gratitude in your heart, instead of cultivating bitterness towards your past. Each small act of ownership you take, every deliberate, responsible choice you make, is like planting a powerful seed of future possibility. And although the visible results may not manifest instantly overnight, they are ultimately fundamentally and undeniably inevitable consequences of your persistent effort. You truly do not need to possess a perfectly flawless, detailed plan to start your journey. You primarily need a willing and open heart, ready to act. Start right where you currently are. Use exactly what tangible and intangible resources you currently have at your disposal. You may not have an abundance of financial resources or connections, but you almost certainly possess the priceless resource of available time, innate creativity, unique experiences, or internal resilience. The most enduringly successful individuals throughout history were rarely simply handed a magically golden smooth pathway in life. They consciously and courageously carved one out for themselves using the seemingly difficult or limiting circumstances they faced. They transformed painful wounds into hard-earned wisdom. They turned temporary setbacks into powerful fuel for future endeavors. They strategically leveraged frustrating limitations into creative advantages. And critically, they all shared one universal trait in common. They consciously and courageously owned the entirety of their unique story, the good, the bad, and the ugly parts. They steadfastly refused to allow their past story or current circumstances to passively own, define, or control them. Consider Franklin D. Roosevelt, struck by paralyzing polio in the prime of his life and promising political career. Most people facing such a profound physical challenge would have understandably accepted that devastating diagnosis as a permanent limiting life sentence. He emphatically did not accept that outcome. He could not consciously control the paralysis that physically impacted his legs and body, but with immense courage he chose to fully control the dynamic movement within his own spirit and determined mind. And he did precisely that, with extraordinary impact. He went on to bravely lead an entire nation, America, through the compounding crises of economic depression and global war, not despite his profound personal physical struggle, but powerfully and resiliently, because he deeply embraced his circumstances, transforming them into unique strengths and a platform for empathetic leadership. He courageously showed the entire world what resilient, transformative leadership looks like in action when it is not built precariously upon flimsy excuses or past justifications, but firmly built upon the unshakable foundation of authentic endurance and unwavering personal responsibility. So must you learn to do in your own unique life. You are not ultimately merely a passive product of your limiting past circumstances. You are the powerful, active architect consciously designing and constructing your vibrant future. Starting today, stop actively rewriting and reliving the predictable, disempowering reasons why you currently feel stuck or limited. Instead, proactively start writing and living a bold new story defined by your courageous ownership and determined action. Blaming external factors passively changes nothing fundamental within or outside you. Consciously taking full personal ownership of your reactions, choices, and journey courageously changes absolutely everything meaningful. And the precise moment you deliberately choose to step into complete personal responsibility for your life is the profound, powerful moment you step fully into your inherent latent power and capability. That right there is truly when the foundational shift miraculously happens within you and in your life. That is when the external life and circumstances around you start actively responding in new and positive ways. Not when you passively complain about your struggles. Not when you passively wait for external change to occur first, but precisely when you decisively look within and courageously declare, "I will rise starting now." Not necessarily because of the past difficulties that happened to you, but courageously, intentionally, and resiliently in spite of them. You are not ultimately a passive victim of circumstances. You are a powerful vessel designed for impact and contribution. So consciously, take hold of the wheel purposefully. Set your sails towards your highest vision and move boldly forward, one responsible step at a time. Your true lasting freedom in life is patiently waiting upon your willingness to wholeheartedly embrace complete ownership of your magnificent journey. Rest is a strategic weapon, not an indicator of weakness. Burnout. It isn't primarily a result of working hard or giving maximum effort. It is fundamentally a harsh result of active neglect, not necessarily neglect of your crucial tasks or work, but dangerous neglect of your own core well-being, yourself. You were deliberately not made to run endlessly and unsustainably. You were explicitly not designed to produce non-stop without essential recovery. Even the powerful sun deliberately goes down each day. Even the relentless ocean tide deliberately pulls back at regular intervals. And remarkably in Genesis 2:2, even God himself consciously and deliberately rested after 6 immense days of creation. He intentionally paused and ceased his active labor. Not because he was tired in a human sense or depleted of energy, but because the fundamental principle of rest itself is profoundly sacred and essential to creation's rhythm. So why, my friend, do you keep relentlessly pushing yourself non-stop day after day, as though you are somehow magically above this foundational universal law of vital renewal and sustainable energy? Rest is far more than just a retreat from hard work. It is an active form of necessary resistance against a cultural narrative and expectation that often mistakenly equates your inherent human worth solely with perpetual exhaustion and busyness. There can be a subtle hidden pride lurking in the act of persistent overworking, a quiet, insidious lie whispered within that says, if I stop even for a moment, everything around me will inevitably fall apart or cease to function. But that limiting, fear-based belief, no matter how pervasive, is the potent seed from which eventual burnout reliably grows and manifests. And chronic burnout, despite misguided perceptions, is not, I repeat, a noble mark of true dedication or unwavering commitment. It is the predictable and painful consequence of allowing deep internal disconnection. A dangerous disconnect from your own core physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual needs. You are not a cold, inanimate machine designed for endless output without requiring input. You are a dynamic vessel filled with valuable life potential and purpose, and a vessel that is consistently emptied without ever being intentionally and adequately refilled will eventually predictably crack under pressure or shatter. Rest, therefore, is not an act of selfishness or luxury. It is an act of wise and necessary stewardship. It is the intentional practice of you conscientiously taking excellent care of the crucial instrument, your physical and energetic self, that bravely carries your sacred vision and purpose forward into the world. For what true sustainable good is a potentially sharp and brilliant mind if it is perpetually foggy, slow, and incapable of clear thought due to chronic fatigue and depletion? What true sustainable good is vast ambition and vision for future achievement if your very body and mind cannot physically and energetically carry it through the challenges of the journey? You must begin starting today to intentionally build the structure and rhythms of your life primarily around wisely sustaining and replenishing your core energy and well-being, not solely around the relentless, demanding pursuit of achieving your external goals. Goals are undeniably important. Yes, they provide direction and motivation, but without consistent, vital fuel and replenishment, even the finest, most powerful engine will eventually falter and fail prematurely. It starts with cultivating honest, life-giving internal rhythms and external habits. Sleep intentionally like your most cherished dreams truly depend on it, because energetically they absolutely do in the long run. Eat mindfully and purposefully in ways that nourish, revitalize, and give sustaining energy. Not merely grab convenience or soothe transient emotion. Breathe deeply, consciously and fully as though your precious internal peace literally depends on it. Set necessary boundaries around your time and energy. Not intending them as cold, permanent walls to isolate yourself, but establishing them as intentional gates or filters to protect the valuable focus, precious energy, and vulnerable spirit that carries your vision. Choosing deliberate rest doesn't make you weak or signal that you are not serious about your ambitions. It powerfully signals that you are smart and wise enough, self-aware enough to last for the entire challenging distance of the marathon of life. Take one full, uninterrupted day intentionally each week. Not for relentless work, not for catching up on emails or tasks, but for consciously disconnecting from the external world and deeply reconnecting with yourself within. Use that time to simply reflect honestly, to recalibrate your inner compass, and to fundamentally realign your thoughts, feelings, and purpose. Sit quietly in intentional silence. Walk slowly and mindfully in the natural world, immersing yourself in its healing presence. Write honestly and vulnerably about what you are truly feeling and experiencing internally. Pray, meditate. Think deeply and simply listen. Truly. Listen, not just to the external noise and demands of the world, but consciously listen to what your deepest soul and inner being have patiently been whispering to you, perhaps under all the endless hurry and pressure. You do not necessarily need to frantically escape your current life and responsibilities. You often simply need to intentionally return, centered and renewed to the essence of who you truly are. Give yourself your physical self, your mental self, your spiritual self. The sacred necessary gift of authentic rest and deep renewal. Eleanor Roosevelt, a leader of immense global influence and impact, once wisely observed, "With the new day comes new strength and new thoughts." She lived that profound truth consistently in her own demanding life. Amidst overwhelming global crises and intense political storms and responsibilities, she carried herself with a remarkable quiet force and internal resilience, not because she somehow magically never tired or felt weary under the burden, but specifically because she deeply understood and prioritized the critical importance of restoration. She deliberately spent intentional time alone in quiet contemplation. She regularly walked and recharged in the woods, finding solace and energy in nature's rhythm. She spent quiet time riding alone in solitude, disconnecting to reconnect deeply within herself. Her extraordinary strength and enduring impact wasn't derived simply from what she did externally and visibly. It was cultivated profoundly in how she consistently prepared herself internally, emotionally, and spiritually to bravely do it with sustainable energy and clarity. She led courageously and effectively, not primarily from a place of energy depletion or inner emptiness, but consciously and sustainably from a place of authentic depth and abundant overflow. That fundamentally is the core difference between leading and living sustainably versus inevitably burning out. You must consistently remember this vital principle. Rest is not simply a leisurely reward to be begrudgingly granted to yourself after you perceive you have done enough or achieved enough external metrics. It is unequivocally a foundational requirement, an essential, non-negotiable part of the process that allows you to continue showing up consistently, showing up effectively and bravely, doing the impactful, meaningful work that truly matters to you and to the world over the long term. Do not passively wait until your physical body completely breaks down from exhaustion or your mind irrevocably unravels under unsustainable pressure. Do not. I implore you. Wear your constant exhaustion like a misplaced badge of false honor or validation. The real sustainable power, the authentic capacity for long-term impact, does not reside in relentlessly running until you physically and mentally collapse into depletion. It resides powerfully in your ability to rise each new day with a renewed sense of clear focus, with restored internal strength and vital energy, and with an unshakable, pervasive sense of genuine peace. That is the profound gift and consequence that intentional sacred rest gives you. Not a simple escape from reality, but essential foundational endurance for the journey ahead. A genuinely rested version of yourself, mind, body, and spirit, is an inherently more powerful and capable you. A consistently still and clear mind is inherently a much sharper, more effective mind. A mindfully nourished soul is an inherent, unstoppable force of nature and positive impact. And when you make the conscious choice starting today to treat authentic rest as sacred, remarkably, the important work you choose to engage in inevitably becomes sacred too. Because you are no longer desperately running and operating from a place of painful emptiness or chronic lack. You are consciously choosing to move forward, contribute and lead from a place of abundant overflow and sustained energy. And that radiant overflow, consistently cultivated from within, fundamentally changes and elevates absolutely everything in your life and in the lives you touch. Excellence is a cultivated habit, not merely a spontaneous mood or fleeting feeling. True excellence rarely arrives neatly wrapped in sudden excitement or dramatic flair. It typically does not manifest on the unpredictable wings of temporary motivation or in the superficial glow of consistently good moods. It is diligently forged, temper by temper, in the relentless, often uncomfortable fire of intentional repetition. It is quietly built in the unseen trenches of often tedious monotony and predictable routine. It is authentically demonstrated in the quiet, uncelebrated moments when you feel absolutely nothing remotely inspirational or exciting. Yet powered by deep discipline, you choose to show up, engage fully, and give your consistent best anyway. The challenging pathway towards achieving enduring greatness and impact in life is consistently paved stone by intentional stone, with days and efforts that feel profoundly ordinary and unremarkable in the moment. That is precisely why, tragically, most people consistently miss finding it. They spend their valuable energy and limited time passively waiting for elusive inspiration to strike, before they choose to act decisively and with consistent effort, rarely recognizing that purposeful, consistent action itself is the most reliable magnetic force that actively invites and generates sustained inspiration and creative flow over time. You will not reliably rise to enduring excellence and mastery by solely chasing or relying on a capricious feeling of motivation or inspiration. You reliably rise to it by committing relentlessly to actively following through on your commitments and daily work, even and especially when the initial positive feelings have completely faded and dissipated. In 1 Corinthians 9:25, Scripture makes a profound observation. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. Notice the crucial descriptive word, strict. Not sporadic training occasionally when convenience or inspiration strikes. Not training only whenever you randomly feel like it, when the mood is good, but rather consistent, disciplined, and intensely intentional training and effort maintained regardless of fleeting feelings or external convenience. Enduring excellence fundamentally is not primarily about doing more things just to appear busy. It is authentically about doing things, specifically the right things, with intentional purpose, disciplined focus, and a commitment to doing them well. This committed pursuit of excellence is rarely glamorous or dramatic in the daily process. It is most often a hidden, quiet battle of persistence fought within the unseen hours. No large crowd spontaneously applauds your silent early mornings, diligently pursuing your work. Your relentless late nights studying or refining your craft, or your countless seemingly monotonous repetitions of essential foundational tasks required for mastery. But unseen divine forces observe internal strength is forged and potential is unlocked in the process. The internal consistency and disciplined unseen obedience in the quiet place pays its own dividends in time, and eventually in the rightful season. The external world eventually perceives and recognizes the profound, undeniable results that your consistent, disciplined work has actively created and manifested. Most people strongly crave the desired reward, the visible outcome of achievement. But far fewer people are genuinely willing to courageously endure the often mundane, challenging, but necessary routine process required to earn it authentically. But make no mistake whatsoever. The diligent, often repetitive routine is the authentic, reliable birthplace of achieving mastery and enduring excellence in any field. The often mundane repetition and persistent daily grind that can feel initially boring or insignificant is in reality the crucial grindstone that actively sharpens and hones your innate gift and potential into powerful capability. Every single time you consciously choose to show up for your work or commitments feeling genuinely tired or uninspired but driven by deep, unwavering internal commitment. Anyway, you are in that silent act of discipline, planting potent seeds of future greatness and enduring impact. Every single time you deliberately choose to prioritize excellence over convenient mediocrity or comfort, you are definitively signaling in both action and energy to the universe and the world around you. I simply will not passively accept being merely average. You do not fundamentally need to consistently feel emotionally charged or inspired like a declared champion in every single moment to consistently choose to actively train and discipline yourself, like an undeniable champion does day in and day out. You primarily just need to courageously choose to consistently act, like one does regardless of feelings. And eventually, through the relentless power of consistent action, your actions will faithfully and undeniably shape and redefine your core identity. So how practically do you actively live out this demanding principle of excellence consistently in your daily life? You consciously decide anew every single day. You elevate and make genuine excellence your steadfast standard of operation, not a rare conditional exception. This consciously means intentionally engaging in seemingly simple tasks, even brushing your teeth with deliberate attention and mindful presence, writing that crucial email with crystal clear clarity and intentional purpose, leading that important meeting with centered presence and confident authority, consciously cleaning and organizing that small physical space with a genuine sense of gratitude for having it. It's not inherently about striving for constant, unattainable external perfection in everything you do. It is powerfully about cultivating deep, unwavering presence and intentional focus in every small task and interaction you undertake. Excellence at its core is first a profound internal posture of the heart, mind, and intention before it manifests visibly as an external product created by your hands. It's not primarily about attempting to be definitively better than every single other person in comparison. It is authentically and fundamentally about consciously striving to be incrementally and consistently better than you yourself were based on yesterday's efforts. And that meaningful daily pursuit actively starts and is built incrementally, with the accumulation of all those small, consistent, often uncelebrated internal decisions that literally no one else in the external world actively sees you making. Florence Nightingale, the pioneering nurse, didn't embark on her life's work with the specific goal of eventually being publicly applauded or recognized. She simply resolutely refused to consciously abandon her deep commitment to excellence and compassionate care, even during immense crisis, when the vast majority of the external world was simply not paying attention to her hidden work. Night after night, tirelessly and consistently, she ministered courageously to the wounded, bandaging their wounds, changing their linens, even as other individuals around her had already grown weary, disheartened, and gave up on the demanding work. Her profound discipline wasn't externally loud, demanding attention or praise, but it was intrinsically lasting and world-changing in its quiet impact. She diligently trained and cultivated herself in self-discipline and quiet preparation, often alone and unseen, precisely so she could then bravely and sustainably serve others externally with remarkable internal strength and enduring impact. And the transformative reach of her dedicated impact did not tragically end with her physical lifetime. The consistent, excellent habits she painstakingly cultivated endured far longer and touched countless lives after her physical presence was gone. That unequivocally is the true enduring legacy born from cultivated quiet excellence practiced relentlessly in the unseen moments. You do not require an external spotlight focused upon you to consciously choose to internally shine brightly based on your values and standards. You simply need to courageously stay internally faithful to the necessary demanding process of showing up consistently, doing your best work, and remaining true to your highest calling and standards. Excellence is not an external outcome or achievement you desperately chase after in a fleeting sprint. It is a fundamental internal quality you deliberately cultivate and consistently become over the marathon of life, one disciplined choice at a time. It is like a strong muscle diligently built in the quiet, unobserved darkness of persistent practice. It is like an internal fire carefully kept alive and consistently stoked in the demanding, uncelebrated silence of dedicated effort. And when you intentionally train your mind, your habits, and your character consistently like an authentic champion even, and especially when absolutely no one external is currently observing or applauding your dedicated process, your inherent passion for what you do will inevitably and naturally follow the diligent work. The visible external results and outcomes will undoubtedly eventually come as a natural consequence of your consistent, disciplined effort. But more fundamentally and crucially, a resilient, unshakable character will undeniably be forged and cultivated within you. And strong character, deeply rooted in consistent integrity and self-discipline, is the bedrock, foundational principle upon which absolutely everything meaningful and lasting is ultimately and securely built in life. So, actively stop passively waiting for the right feeling or the perfect mood to finally strike you before you engage in your essential work or commit to necessary positive change. Instead, consciously make a firm decision to show up anyway based on commitment, not convenience. Intentionally build a sustainable internal rhythm of consistency and disciplined effort into your daily life. And resolutely keep your important internal word, your quiet promises to yourself fiercely and consistently. The external world society at large may often prioritize and superficially reward quick, visible, tangible results above all else. But internal growth, lasting character, and inherent power is reliably cultivated and profoundly rewarded by persistent discipline and quiet internal consistency, not fleeting convenience. Show up for your inner work. Show up for your deliberate daily practice, again and again, without fanfare or complaint. Consistently train your expansive mind to focus and believe the truth. Relentlessly sharpen your necessary habits of execution and persistence. Consciously elevate your own internal standards for your effort and conduct. And soon enough, enduring excellence and true capability won't just be something impressive and effective that you consciously do. It will inevitably become a fundamental, deeply integrated aspect of who you inherently are at your core. That undeniably is the true lasting internal reward of the disciplined journey. That fundamentally is the often hidden but profoundly significant victory. And that brick disciplined choice is exactly how extraordinary legacies, whether widely known or quietly impactful, are authentically and lastingly built. One quiet, intentional choice, embraced fully at a time, compounding consistently through the persistent, dedicated work. Confidence authentically grows, builds, and deepens over time, specifically through commitments consciously and consistently kept primarily to yourself. Genuine, unshakable confidence does not mysteriously appear fully formed in fleeting flashes of temporary external brilliance or overwhelming crowds of cheering applause. It is rarely mysteriously gifted to the loudest, most outwardly assertive voice or passively inherited solely through innate natural charm or privileged background. True, enduring confidence is quiet. It is steady and unwavering in its resolve. It is profoundly unshakable in the face of adversity. And it is authentically built painstakingly and incrementally, not visibly or performatively in the public external spotlight, but deeply and surely in the unseen private hours, in the quiet, small, often silent moments where you alone decisively choose to proactively show up for your work. Intentionally, follow through on your planned actions and commitments, and resolutely keep the personal word you quietly gave yourself when conviction initially struck. Luke 16:10 shares a simple yet powerful truth. He who is faithful in very little is faithful also in much. That fundamental principle is far more than just insightful spiritual guidance. It is a practical, foundational blueprint and strategic manual for consciously building inherent internal strength and unwavering resilience. Because when you consistently prove yourself to be dependable and trustworthy in handling the small, often unglamorous disciplines and responsibilities of daily life, like consistently rising with that early alarm, preparing and consuming a nourishing meal, or putting in that essential extra bit of focused effort when no one is watching, You are in each of those disciplined acts, proactively proving, demonstrating, and strengthening your deepest belief in your own capacity and reliability, specifically to yourself. And that self-validating belief, that deep-seated internal trust in your own consistency and capability, that is precisely where authentic, lasting confidence profoundly begins its growth cycle. Not derived primarily from what other external individuals think of you or your visible accomplishments, but solidly rooted in what you choose to deeply believe, reinforce, and prove about yourself, specifically to yourself in those critical moments when absolutely no one else in the external world is actively observing or validating your private efforts and internal integrity. Every single time you decisively say to yourself, internally or externally, I will courageously do this important thing, and then you actively and reliably follow through and physically do it. Anyway, consistently. Your internal trust and deep-seated belief in your own reliability and capability steadily grows stronger, like a muscle being worked. Every small or large task you commit to and faithfully complete. Every crucial promise you honor to yourself, especially when convenience urges you to break it. Every flimsy self-sabotaging excuse you proactively identify and resolutely reject. Each of these conscious, disciplined acts incrementally becomes another vital brick, intentionally laid and bonded securely in the growing foundation of an authentically confident and resilient life. True confidence, authentically built, is not hollow external hype or performative noise seeking validation. It is not about passively pretending to be something you are not internally experiencing. It is the quiet, solid, deeply felt internal conviction that you will reliably and courageously show up for yourself and your commitments again and again and again, precisely because you have consciously and diligently trained yourself through repeated, consistent action to dependably do exactly that, regardless of feelings or circumstances. You do not inherently require an external spotlight focused upon you in order to genuinely get stronger in who you are and what you are capable of achieving. You critically require persistent consistency in your internal actions and daily discipline. Consistency consistently builds unwavering internal trust with yourself primarily, and genuine deep trust consistently earned and maintained is the strong, unshakable root of cultivating authentic, resilient, and lasting confidence. Think honestly about it. When someone in your life consistently breaks their promises to you repeatedly over time, do you ultimately place genuine trust in them? No, naturally you lose trust. The fundamental principle operates precisely the same way within your own relationship with yourself. If you consistently break promises you make to yourself, carelessly saying, I'll definitely start my new habit tomorrow morning, or I'll definitively quit that negative behavior next week, I promise myself, you are in each instance consciously eroding and diminishing your own essential self-belief and trust in your capability to follow through on your word. But when you actively and consistently deliver on your commitments to yourself, especially and most powerfully when it feels intensely inconvenient or emotionally challenging to do so, you are through that very disciplined act, fundamentally strengthening your core sense of internal power, integrity, and resilience. And here, my friend, is the unvarnished truth revealed. When you consciously choose to actively begin to genuinely trust yourself fully and deeply based on your consistent actions and integrity, the external world, with all its opinions, challenges, and noise, simply cannot fundamentally shake your internal resolve. External critics lose much of their disruptive volume and perceived power over you. Internal self-doubt significantly loses its relentless grip and destructive ability to paralyze you with fear and indecision. This happens because you are no longer desperately waiting for external validation from others to feel worthy or capable. You have already consciously earned and given yourself that deep validation through your consistent actions and unwavering self-discipline. You know definitively, deep in your bones, who you fundamentally are and what you are truly capable of becoming and achieving precisely. Because you have objectively seen and consistently proven what you are willing to do consistently and reliably, even when it's hard and unseen. Authentic confidence, then, is not a carefully staged performance or a shallow outward appearance you project. It is undeniably a profound and natural consequence of conscious, disciplined effort and earned self-trust. Take an honest, reflective look at the fundamental patterns and habits you are currently living by. Are they actively reinforcing and strengthening your crucial self-trust day after day with consistent action? Or are they silently but effectively sabotaging and undermining it with procrastination, inaction, and broken internal promises? Do your consistent daily actions truly echo and align with your highest conscious intentions, desired values, and stated goals, or do your behaviors habitually betray them, choosing ease and convenience over integrity and growth? Every single instance where you consciously choose to align what you consistently say with what you actually consistently do, you are profoundly deepening the crucial roots of your character, self-belief, and capability. And the deeper those internal roots grow, nourished by consistency and self-trust, the steadier and more resilient the entire tree of your being stands against the inevitable storms and challenges of life. Life will undeniably throw strong winds at you. External storms will inevitably come uninvited. But a tree that has cultivated deep, strong, reliable roots through consistency and resilience simply does not easily fall, waver, or break under external pressure. So if your genuine desire is to consciously build truly unshakable confidence within yourself, do not begin your building process by chasing external validation from temporary crowds of admirers. Begin instead by bravely embracing and consistently honoring essential commitments to yourself in the private quiet. Do not start by striving for dramatic attention-grabbing grand gestures of performance. Begin with consciously practicing small, consistent, deliberate internal acts of self-discipline and follow-through performed diligently and repeatedly in the unseen hours. Consciously make the powerful internal choice to wake up when you authentically said to yourself, you would wake up honoring your internal commitment. Diligently finish the task you consciously started and committed to rather than abandoning it prematurely. Most crucially, keep the quiet but sacred promise you vulnerably whispered to yourself in those intimate moments of clear resolution and focused internal conviction away from external eyes and ears. These silent daily moments of conscious self-discipline, intentional follow-through, and consistently kept internal promises are precisely the powerful, hidden internal furnace, where authentic, enduring, and unshakable confidence is reliably forged and refined over time. Because true lasting confidence isn't loud, boastful, or performative. It is inherently loyal and dependable. Loyalty to your deepest values and highest vision, and reliability in consistently showing up for the required internal and external work, regardless of convenience. It is not fundamentally about externally trying to be consistently better than random other people you compare yourself to externally. It is profoundly about being rigorously consistent with the unwavering standards, promises, and core integrity you define and set for yourself internally. And when that consistent internal integrity and disciplined follow-through becomes the dominant habit pattern defining your daily life and choices, that transformative habit eventually, undeniably, and profoundly becomes your foundational core identity. The external applause may ultimately come as a byproduct of your consistent effort and quiet excellence. External recognition and reward may naturally follow, attracted by the undeniable results of your discipline. But the most valuable, deeply meaningful, and genuinely authentic reward for the dedicated journey is ultimately always internal, cultivated within. It is a steady, deeply grounded, resilient, and internally immovable sense of true self-worth and capability that no external praise, however loud or effusive, can fundamentally inflate into arrogance, and no external criticism, however harsh or frequent, can genuinely deflate into self-doubt. That, my friend, is the enduring confidence that reliably lasts through all of life's inevitable storms and fluctuations. That diligently and consciously cultivated one internal commitment, consistently kept at a time, is the deep, authentic, and unbreakable confidence you intentionally build for a lifetime. Character is inherently what you consciously choose to do, how you consistently choose to behave in those significant moments when literally no other external human being is actively watching your choices or actions. You can perhaps temporarily impress superficial external audiences or gatekeepers with a dazzling outward performance or strategically crafted public image designed for approval. But you can only build truly significant, lasting internal and external impact through demonstrating consistent, undeniable integrity quietly practiced in your private life. Fleeting talent may indeed temporarily open specific doors of opportunity for you. Outward charisma and a winning personality might strategically win over or temporarily charm external rooms full of influential people. But only consistently practiced internal character rooted in integrity and discipline can reliably keep you standing strong, anchored, and resilient, and continually expanding your impact when the external applause inevitably fades into silence, when the bright, fleeting spotlight suddenly shifts away from you towards the next new sensation, and when difficult, unavoidable external pressures or criticisms unexpectedly emerge in your life. Authentic integrity pursued consistently in the quiet is not naturally glamorous or attention-grabbing by definition. It very rarely organically trends, becomes widely viral, or gains fleeting popularity in a superficial, fast-paced culture, often prioritizing appearance over substance, but it enduringly and fundamentally lasts quietly, relentlessly, unshakably over time. Proverbs 10:9 serves as a timeless reminder. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely. Not necessarily walks publicly celebrated, always in the external spotlight, but walks securely anchored in inner strength and unwavering truth. That is a fundamentally different and profoundly more valuable type of intrinsic reward. One that reliably anchors and grounds you with unshakable stability when difficult storms and crises inevitably challenge your path. One that diligently builds genuine, deep-seated trust in you from others over time, far beyond just fleeting external attention or temporary popularity. Integrity is fundamentally the quiet, consistent internal commitment to living and upholding your truth, core values, and highest standards, especially and most importantly when absolutely no one else is actively around you observing or judging your choices. It is the courageous internal choice you consistently make moment by crucial moment when you recognize you could very easily get away with taking a tempting shortcut, doing slightly less than your best effort, or bending a moral or ethical rule to your advantage. It is authentically demonstrating how you deliberately choose to handle moments of intense pressure or difficult temptation, specifically when consciously cutting corners or compromising your values might seem like the most effortless or justified option available. And yet the powerful, undeniable truth persists, woven into the fabric of life itself. What you consciously choose to repeatedly tolerate, indulge in, or quietly do and become in the relative hiddenness of the dark or private space of your own choices, will eventually and inevitably organically manifest, emerge, and ultimately fundamentally define who you are perceived to be, what you are capable of, and what impact you have when those choices and who you are becoming eventually naturally come to light, becoming visible for all in the external world to clearly observe and respond to. Because at a deep level, who you are, consistently cultivating yourself to be, when no other external person or audience is actively watching your daily habits and decisions, fundamentally and directly determines what levels of trust, what opportunities, what responsibilities, and what forms of positive influence you will eventually reliably be granted access to and entrusted with. In significant roles or platforms when all of the external world is indeed watching you and depending on your character. External applause is often fleeting here one moment and gone the next. Public reputation based often on appearance or perceived success is intrinsically fragile and easily damaged or manipulated. But a genuinely rooted life, a life securely and consistently built brick by deliberate brick on a solid, unshakable foundation of inner discipline, core integrity, and consistent conscious action, is resiliently enduring, internally powerful, and authentically unshakable by external storms or criticisms. Do not in your life's journey compromise or lower your essential standards, your values, or your deep convictions in exchange for temporary shallow claps of approval or fleeting external validation from others. Do not dilute the strength and purity of your core values or foundational standards in exchange for the immediate perceived convenience of a deceptive shortcut around necessary disciplined hard work. What may consciously or unconsciously seem insignificant and harmless in your choices today, perhaps telling a convenient white lie to avoid discomfort, consciously bending a crucial rule when you think no one important is looking, or secretly cultivating a self-sabotaging hidden negative habit or mindset, can subtly and incrementally over time ultimately fracture the integrity of your foundation and undermine your potential for a strong, positive, and lasting legacy tomorrow. What negative or compromising choices, behaviors, or thought patterns you are consistently willing to tolerate, allow, or indulge in the private silence unobserved will inevitably and organically reveal themselves and ultimately publicly define who you genuinely are at your core when external challenges, scrutiny, or opportunities arise. Integrity is fundamentally not an external burden to carry reluctantly for show. It is a potent internal protection for your very soul, mind, and potential. It actively guards the authenticity and honor of your name. It powerfully protects the clarity and purpose of your core vision and desired direction. And it provides a deep, unshakable sense of internal peace and congruence. It intentionally sets a robust internal and external foundation for your life that intense external pressure cannot authentically crack under duress, and baseless or malicious criticism cannot fundamentally crumble into dust. This happens because when you consciously pursue true integrity, you are not ultimately trying to be outwardly impressive to others, seeking their fleeting validation. You are cultivating a deep, intrinsic, unyielding quality within yourself. You are bravely striving to be internally and externally immovable from your truth, your standards, and your purpose. And that crucial, often challenging internal journey towards becoming internally immovable in character, truth, and discipline inherently begins in the often uncelebrated shadows, in the quiet, private moments of conscious choice. It happens long before you may earn any public title or significant recognition. Long before you gain access to a visible external platform for influence or a leadership role. It is diligently built brick by quiet brick, specifically in the integrity and consistency of those crucial, unobserved daily decisions you make. Will I choose to be courageously honest and truthful here in this moment, when it might be inconvenient or costly? Will I choose to faithfully honor this important commitment I made to myself or to someone else, even when motivation is low or difficulty arises? Will I courageously keep my essential internal word to myself, the one I privately gave in a moment of fierce resolution, even when there seems to be no immediate or visible external reward for doing so? These fundamental internal questions, courageously answered through consistent conscious action in the quiet places, are precisely the sacred spaces where the capacity for a powerful, enduring legacy is genuinely born and cultivated. Not amidst public fanfare, grand gestures, or dramatic displays for external approval, but securely rooted in demonstrated personal faithfulness and unwavering discipline in the small daily acts, not in seeking fleeting, loud external victories visible to all eyes, but in cultivating profound, authentic internal integrity consistently practiced in the quiet, unseen moments of intentional choice. Consider the revered leadership and enduring legacy of George Washington, widely considered the father of the United States. He didn't attain the status of a genuinely revered, world-changing leader primarily because he relentlessly sought political power or public dominance as an ultimate end in itself. Instead, he undeniably earned profound trust, immense respect, and lasting influence precisely through his demonstrable consistency, his unwavering integrity, and his commitment to ethical leadership and personal discipline throughout his formative years in public life. He was authentically known and deeply trusted fundamentally for his steadfast commitment to unwavering honesty and truthfulness, for his profound loyalty to the greater cause and the people he served, and for his courageous, disciplined restraint in exercising immense power entrusted to him. When the historically pivotal time inevitably came for him to step bravely forward and provide courageous foundational leadership for a new, fragile, and vulnerable fledgling nation in its precarious early stages, the essential enduring foundation of his character, his principles, and his cultivated internal strength had already been patiently, diligently laid and solidified over years of unseen, consistent private practice. He did not feel the crippling pressure of needing to suddenly rise to the immense, daunting external moment with a performative sudden burst of capability for which he was internally unprepared. Instead, he was naturally and inherently capable of leading with integrity, clarity, and resilience precisely because he had already been diligently rising in disciplined character, principled action, and conscious self-leadership consistently and quietly within the often unobserved shadows of his formative journey for countless years leading up to that critical public moment. You too are inherently capable of making a genuinely significant and lasting positive impact on your corner of the world. To effectively do so proactively, begin the process right where you are now in the often unobserved spaces where literally no one else externally is actively seeing you, making your daily crucial choices. Practice intentional integrity and thoughtful consideration in your everyday seemingly small conversations. Cultivate disciplined, intentional habits that actively align your daily actions with your deepest values and highest intentions, even when they are difficult. Consistently make conscious choices rooted in truth, courage, and authenticity, rather than defaulting to ease or convenience for approval. Strive consciously to consistently be the same person of principle, discipline, and truth when you are in quiet solitude and no one is observing, as you are demonstrably when you are standing boldly speaking your truth or acting courageously in the full public spotlight. Purposefully build a reputation, a genuine name for yourself. Not primarily through generating superficial external noise or seeking attention, but firmly through embodying undeniable truth, quiet strength, and consistent, transparent integrity. Actively choose to consciously walk securely and confidently in your being and purpose anchored in truth, rather than just relentlessly chasing external metrics of transient success and fleeting achievements. Courageously choose today and every day forward to let others potentially chase external popularity or widespread superficial approval, while you consistently choose internally and externally to passionately pursue the demanding but deeply rewarding path of integrity, authentic purity of motive, and conscious excellence in all that you do. Because as life unfolds and memories fade, the external world and individuals in it might eventually partially or fully forget the specific achievements or quantifiable accomplishments you attain in your life. But they will almost certainly deeply remember, internalize, and be profoundly impacted by how you consistently made people genuinely feel through the consistent expression of your character and the nature of your interactions with them. And nothing in life reliably builds genuine, deep, and lasting trust and positive influence from others as profoundly and effectively as consistently demonstrated integrity and unwavering authenticity. So courageously and honestly check the current foundation upon which you are building your life. Is it currently primarily constructed upon a fragile, carefully curated public image, or a surface-level persona you project for others? Or is it courageously and reliably cultivated stone by disciplined stone upon the bedrock of consistent, challenging, authentic, private discipline and unwavering internal integrity lived out regardless of who is watching? The fundamental, undeniable difference between these two distinct paths will eventually, inevitably, reveal itself in your life and impact. Perhaps not today, not this week, or even this year, but ultimately and profoundly over the marathon of life and the building of your legacy, it will show itself clearly. And when that defining day eventually comes, and the true nature of your foundation is tested by external pressure or scrutiny, may the quiet strength of your consistently demonstrated integrity courageously speak far, far louder and clearer than any fleeting external titles, accolades, or accomplishments you may acquire. Because external superficial performance might indeed temporarily impress fleeting audiences, but only the enduring, deeply cultivated quality of integrity, consistently lived and practiced courageously, leaves behind an authentic, transformative, and lasting legacy in the hearts and minds of others, and in the undeniable impact you leave on the world. And authentic, lasting legacy, not fleeting external applause or transient popularity, is fundamentally the ultimate true measure of a life genuinely and purposefully lived. Your core sense of underlying purpose, consciously connected to and lived from within, possesses the intrinsic power and profound capacity to relentlessly pull you through and beyond inevitable moments of external and internal pressure, difficulty, and challenge in life. Experiencing significant external pressure in your life is rarely, if ever, a definitive sign or negative indicator that you have fundamentally lost your true path chosen incorrectly. or are somehow inherently failing in your efforts. More often than not, experiencing resistance and difficulty under pressure is instead a powerful internal and external signal indicating that you are courageously attempting to build and steward something significant, meaningful, and genuinely important in your life and for the world. Something possessing true weight value and potential for profound impact. You typically do not personally feel the intense internal or external pressure and demands of challenging circumstances when your internal being, your heart, and your life's work feel authentically empty of passion, meaning, or consequence. You powerfully and tangibly feel that resistance and demand when you are actively full of connected to and consciously carrying a bold vision, a profound sense of internal responsibility, and a clear, compelling core purpose that transcends your current limitations. Pressure fundamentally is often the vital and challenging resistance within or around you that authentically confirms and propels your necessary forward movement and internal growth. Romans 8:28 reminds us of a deep and unwavering truth, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. This profound declaration explicitly means, illuminated within this greater framework, that even the seemingly negative experience of external or internal pressure in your life fundamentally possesses a higher purpose within the divine order and transformative process of existence. Even the crushing or uncomfortable weight you feel under challenging circumstances is consciously working for your ultimate highest good and development, not because the experienced pain or difficulty magically disappears entirely through wishful thinking or passive hope, but powerfully and intentionally. Because the profound clarity and unwavering strength derived from connecting to your deepest purpose authentically redeems the meaning and transformative potential of that experienced pain. Purpose, therefore, does not promise to fundamentally erase all inevitable hardship or difficulty from your path. It possesses the profound power to consciously transform the meaning and inherent growth potential of that hardship you encounter. When you are authentically, clearly, and intentionally connected to why you are courageously doing what you are diligently doing in your life, the compelling higher reason or mission driving your efforts, the intense storms of life you inevitably encounter do not effectively derail or knock you fundamentally off your intended path of impact. Instead, those very storms of difficulty actively develop temper and strengthen you, refining your character and resilience. The strong winds of external challenge you face do not relentlessly knock you down or utterly defeat you from your standing place. They strategically strengthen the deep, unseen roots of your resilience, internal conviction, and determined persistence. Pressure in life is fundamentally not an inherent form of arbitrary punishment, arbitrarily meted out to you. It is consistently the experienced, demanding but crucial sculptor, diligently shaping and revealing the profound potential and inherent capability already residing dormant within you. It relentlessly shapes and sharpens your essential endurance and mental fortitude. It bravely reveals your true core values and unwavering principles when they are tested under fire. It powerfully purifies the authenticity of your motives and underlying intentions for pursuing your goals and vision. And it consistently and effectively strips away the inessential elements of fear, doubt, or unhealthy attachments that do not fundamentally belong in the truest, highest expression of your being, precisely so that which is essential, strong, valuable, and authentic can consciously and effectively stand firm and be revealed to yourself and the world. Tempered and resilient. There exists a fundamental distinction crucial to understand between mere external stress, which tends to fracture and weaken, and the transformative force of internal strength, cultivated by embracing challenges and disciplined pressure, which tempers and fortifies. Chronic stress passively breaks down and gradually damages that which was not initially built internally or externally with the inherent capacity or strength to comfortably carry significant emotional, mental, or physical weight over the long haul. But bravely embraced pressure, willingly leaning into challenges and discomfort, consistently and deliberately builds, refines, and fortifies precisely that within you, the necessary internal capacity, resilience, and unwavering strength that is intentionally created and powerfully designed to healthily and effectively carry significant weight, challenge, responsibility, and transformative impact throughout life. When you are clearly and authentically aligned with your deeper purpose and compelling vision, experienced pressure and demanding challenges consciously transform from external threats or dreaded adversaries into insightful internal teachers, illuminating opportunities for growth and deepening internal fortitude. You consciously begin through this transformed perspective to actively view the struggle, the hardship, the weight differently than before. You wisely stop defensively asking from a victim mentality the often futile and disempowering question, why is this painful thing unfairly happening to me personally? And instead, courageously, from a place of strength and ownership, you consciously start proactively asking, what valuable lessons is this challenging experience currently teaching me about myself and my paths? And what profound future purpose or greater capability is this demanding challenge powerfully preparing me for in the grand design of my life's journey? That transformative shift in core perspective, that single pivotal question consciously chosen, courageously changes absolutely everything. Fundamental in your relationship with struggle and challenge. Because suddenly seen through the lens of authentic purpose and embraced ownership, experienced pain inherently possesses purposeful direction. Encountered discomfort subtly reveals a deeper underlying design or intentional outcome, and your necessary unwavering endurance through the fire is imbued with profound meaning and generative power. You fundamentally cannot genuinely ask, expect, or strive for profound lasting greatness, resilience, and impactful capacity in your life while simultaneously and persistently attempting to run from or actively avoid the discomfort demands and transformative experience of necessary pressure and demanding challenges. They inextricably arrive together, linked hand in hand as essential elements of the same demanding but ultimately rewarding journey. The greater the potential internal call, or the more impactful the external mission on your life, the greater the external or internal weight and pressure you are consciously chosen capable of and destined to effectively carry and transform into power. But consciously remember, this pressure in your life is never inherently and finally showing up solely for the purpose of utterly crushing or defeating your spirit or your capability. It is showing up intentionally and functionally to prove, to qualify, and to shape you into the version of yourself required to step into the calling you were born for, and the deep, authentic strength and robust resilience that you painstakingly build, cultivate, and temper within yourself, specifically under significant and demanding pressure and challenge, will courageously carry you far, far further on your unique life path and equip you for far greater levels of enduring impact than any temporary moment of perceived external ease, shallow convenience, or lack of resistance ever could have possibly prepared you for in the long run. When you palpably feel the internal or external heat of challenge and demanding pressure rising around and within you, it does not fundamentally or necessarily mean you are currently failing or somehow off course from your intended trajectory. It often powerfully means that the transformative refining fire of purification and growth is actively working within your life and spirit. Consider once again the extraordinary example of Harriet Tubman, a woman who had every imaginable logical reason rooted deeply in personal danger and profound risk to constantly and instinctively run away from external pressure, overwhelming danger, and physical confrontation. Yet, despite facing brutal existential threats, she courageously, deliberately, and repeatedly returned into the intensely dangerous, hostile territory of the slave-holding states on her missions with the Underground Railroad. Every single journey back into active slavery territory with escaped individuals literally meant risking certain capture, brutal torture, potential re-enslavement, and likely imminent death both for herself and those she guided. And yet with unwavering determination rooted in a purpose greater than her own safety, she bravely and consistently returned again, not merely once, not merely twice, but powerfully again and again, making those perilous journeys to guide others to freedom. Why? Why did she consistently, intentionally place herself and her own life in such extraordinary peril repeatedly? Because fundamentally, her profound, non-negotiable core purpose, her mission to free others, was far, far larger, more compelling, and ultimately more powerful than her legitimate intense personal fear and survival instinct. She was not consciously or primarily chasing superficial comfort, personal ease, or guaranteed safety in her life choices. She was with extraordinary courage answering an unyielding, compelling, higher internal calling rooted in a moral imperative that resonated deeply within her spirit. Her world-changing mission was not at its core fundamentally about cultivating a path of personal convenience or maximizing physical ease for herself. It was relentlessly and unequivocally about securing, facilitating, and fighting for the transformative, non-negotiable human right of freedom for countless enslaved individuals, and specifically, in and through the demanding, perilous pursuit of that greater freedom. Multiple generations of human beings were forever changed, elevated, and granted opportunity for a new life beyond the bondage they knew. That profoundly is the lasting, impactful power authentically unleashed and demonstrated by bravely choosing to walk intentionally through, endure, and rise above, demanding pressure, adversity, and challenges, consistently anchored and propelled by a clear, compelling purpose that burns brightly within you. You are not in your unique journey and purpose necessarily called primarily to walk only an effortlessly easy or consistently comfortable path, devoid of challenge or resistance. You are unequivocally and inherently called to walk a meaningful, purposeful, and impactful one. A path worthy of the full expression of your courage and potential. So if your current life circumstances, challenges, or chosen work feels authentically heavy at times, weighted down by responsibility, demand, or difficulty, that seen through the transformative lens of purpose does not automatically mean you are lost, somehow fundamentally off course, or making erroneous choices in life. More often than not, experiencing that intentional demanding weight is simply a powerful signal, indicating that you are courageously and faithfully carrying, building, and stewarding something genuinely sacred, profoundly meaningful, and uniquely important, not just for your own life and development, but potentially for the world around you. And that very weight and demands embraced and processed through the clarifying lens of purpose is undeniably tangible evidence from the universe or a higher power that your inherent potential and the dedicated work you are called to do genuinely, unequivocally, and profoundly matters and is necessary in the greater fabric of existence. Therefore, actively stop passively praying, hoping, or wishing for the significant defining pressures in your life journey to abruptly end or miraculously vanish, making things effortless. Instead, consciously and courageously pray, internalize, and strive for the inherent, robust internal strength, clarity, resilience, and wisdom required to consciously and effectively carry those inevitable pressures and challenging weights well and purposefully, transforming them into stepping stones rather than succumbing to them as insurmountable obstacles. Because when the clarity of your core purpose authentically fills, anchors, and propels your heart, mind, and spirit, the intense storms and unrelenting pressures you will inevitably face on your journey do not possess the ultimate power to fundamentally break you into fragments beyond repair. Instead, embraced and processed consciously, they are designed, intended, and equipped to authentically and powerfully build you layer by courageous layer into a more refined, capable, and impactful version of yourself, perfectly tempered for the demands and contributions ahead. Find and consciously connect to your deepest why. That is the critical, non-negotiable anchor point for your journey. That is the fundamental stabilizing force that faithfully holds you internally, steady, resolute, and on course even, and especially when your temporary emotions fluctuate wildly. External circumstances shift unexpectedly and drastically, and self-doubt attempts to cloud your inner vision with fear and uncertainty. Your conscious, compelling reason for being and striving, your fundamental why, must inherently be something courageously, consistently, and fundamentally larger than your passing moods. It must be something profoundly greater and more powerful than any external obstacles or perceived limitations that temporarily appear in your path. And crucially, it must be something more compellingly clear and intrinsically anchored than any potentially distracting or negative external opinions, criticisms, or validations that relentlessly attempt to sway you or define your worth. Because when you fundamentally, clearly, and emotionally know what purposeful vision you are actively building your life towards, rooted in that deeper why, no temporary delay or unexpected setback has the ultimate power to sustainably distract you from your core path of progress. No external critic or internal voice of doubt can ultimately truly derail you from your courageous trajectory of authentic growth and impact. And no single instance of temporary failure, challenge, or disappointment has the ultimate authority or power to singularly define your core identity or your enduring potential for contribution. You will consciously and relentlessly choose to keep going, keep striving, and keep building consistently. Not primarily because the pathway or the required daily effort suddenly becomes miraculously easy or effortlessly smooth in each moment, but profoundly and undeniably because you consciously know you are called to this meaningful work and authentic expression of your purpose, and you choose to honor that call regardless of convenience. So consciously press on bravely and deliberately through the inevitable and uncomfortable pressures, through the demands of consistent effort, through the silence and uncelebrated nature of the necessary internal work, through the palpable weight of responsibility and challenges, not in spite of these experiences being present on your journey, but consciously, wisely, and resiliently because of them. Because fundamentally, inevitably, and ultimately, all experiences and circumstances, including the perceived challenges and difficult pressures you face, are working together often in ways unseen and not fully understood in the moment, for your greater growth, for your highest good, and for the unfolding of your remarkable, authentic purpose. You are not in this moment simply being randomly crushed or defeated by external forces or overwhelming circumstances. You are consciously and intentionally being shaped, refined, strengthened, and expertly carved by the deliberate and often uncomfortable work of courage, resilience, and purposeful action. And precisely what is actively being forged and cultivated within you now in the fires of discipline and the intentional practice of integrity under pressure. It is inherently capable of lasting and impacting the world long after the temporary storm or the passing season has ended. And patient endurance in the consistent process of building and becoming that fundamental virtue is the unwavering partner and necessary companion to authentic transformative power genuinely cultivated from within. You inherently and naturally crave tangible, visible results from your efforts, and you understandably desire them fast, immediately visible, and effortlessly achieved on demand. But the most deeply profound, the most genuinely robust, and the most truly powerful forces, capacities, and contributions in your magnificent life by their very nature rarely arrive instantly or predictably simply on external demand. They reliably and organically unfold gradually and beautifully, specifically through patient process, intentionally embraced discipline, and the unwavering virtue of consistent intentional patience exercised over time. Ecclesiastes 3:1 profoundly declares a fundamental, timeless, universal truth. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. That insightful observation is far more than just poetic language describing life's rhythm. It is a fundamental principle, a foundational law woven intricately into the very fabric of existence and the process of natural growth. Seeds do not reliably sprout or miraculously burst into vibrant bloom according to an arbitrary schedule you personally set or impatiently demand. They predictably bloom only when they are inherently and truly ready, when the natural process is complete in the necessary time. And that state of internal readiness and maturation for both seed and soul arrives primarily through dedicated, diligent, consistent, and often unseen or uncelebrated development and nurturing over an extended required period. True enduring power is not loud, demanding, or impatiently rushing towards a perceived finish line. It does not grab external attention through sporadic flashes of dramatic intensity or frantic bursts of temporary action prominently displayed on a stage for external admiration. Authentic, sustainable power is inherently steady, patiently resilient, deeply rooted in fundamental principles, and embraces the wisdom of deliberate, gradual growth consistently applied over time. It is like the immense ancient oak tree patiently rising into formidable existence, rooted in the soil from a seemingly insignificant acorn. Its growth is not sudden, impulsive, or achieved miraculously overnight in one grand surge of effort. It is cultivated intentionally, resiliently, and reliably over patiently endured years and decades, marked by consistent, unseen development, accompanied by no inherent panic or desperate rush, just the unwavering commitment to consistent, disciplined, and often invisible growth applied with intentional effort each day. It requires a deep internal trust in the unfolding process, even when it feels slow, repetitive, or unyielding in the present moment. The true sustainable measure of a life well lived, of capacity, genuinely cultivated, and of potential authentically realized is not found solely in the peak moments of external visibility, temporary accolades, or immediate results achieved rapidly. It is found in the profound, enduring strength forged in the quiet, disciplined pursuit of internal growth, consistent contribution, and unwavering integrity, practiced patiently and persistently in the unobserved crucible of daily life. And it is precisely in that often uncelebrated journey of disciplined becoming, guided by patience anchored in purpose and committed to consistency, that you courageously cultivate the resilience, clarity, and capability necessary not only to weather life's inevitable storms, but to authentically thrive and contribute profoundly through them, leaving a lasting, meaningful impact long after the temporary seasons of pressure and challenge have faded. This patient, disciplined walk through the unseen is where your most powerful, authentic, and enduring legacy is faithfully built, revealed, and experienced both within yourself and in the lives of others you touch along the purposeful way. And it all begins one deliberate, conscious choice. One step, one quiet moment of building at a time, embraced today, and patiently nurtured into the fulfilling unfolding of a life built with deep meaning and unwavering resilience.